Good morning and welcome to my basement. This is Jeremiah Wolf. It's about 6 a.m. Friday morning, and I've actually been up for several hours now, working on a bit of working on some labs, and I happened to check my YouTube channel, and this comment came in last night, and I wanted to go over this real quick because this is pretty interesting. So, several weeks ago, I made a video about the command line is dead. I think that was several weeks ago. And so, this is a response to the video about the command line. And this is pretty interesting. Um, so, this guy's saying, Shandmax? Shandmax? Yeah. He says, or she says, they say, I don't have a problem with learning programming, but if this is the future, then expect a bleak outcome when AI takes over your job. Maybe we begin programming AIs. Is that the future path? Is network engineering going to fade away and be replaced by a very small group of super programmers who makes an AI that makes the configuration and everything regarding network infrastructure roll out? It will save companies millions, but it doesn't exactly leave very much room for the human element anymore. Programming is awesome, but the eventuality is inevitable in my mind that the career path of networking is fundamentally doomed. Well, Shanmax, yeah, you are 100% right. And there's a lot of people talking about this. And what's really interesting, I'm going to show you here in a second, is this isn't new with AI. This has been going on for decades, most of my life. And again, we'll look at the graph here in a second. But yeah, a lot of, it's interesting because there are a lot of people who compare what we're going through right now and is only going to escalate potentially exponentially in the next decade or so as AI really takes off. But they've compared it to the Industrial Revolution. And, what happened was we had farming automation, and what used to require, many people working on a farm required only a handful of people working on a farm. And back then, people said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? All these people are out of jobs. And there was, a lot of upheaval, but new jobs were created as people moved into factories. They moved into cities, started working in factories and foundries and these sorts of things. And so a lot of people said, well, it's just going to be like the Industrial Revolution. There's going to be new jobs, even if we can't imagine what those are right now. But I got to say, I don't think so. This really is different because it's not just, it's robots, it's automation, it's AI. There's really nothing left for humans to do. And I have seen, general purpose robots that cost like $20,000, which is, nothing, and can be programmed very quickly and very easily. But let's take a look at this. I want to talk about this here. So I'll include a link to this in the description, but this is talking about the productivity pay gap, and you might have seen this before, but what we're seeing here is for a long time, as people became more productive, so as the tools were invented that allowed human workers to be more productive, to produce more per person per unit of output. So an hour, I produce X amount, and now I'm producing X.5 amount. So that has always been lockstep with pay. We produce more, you get paid more. Hey, that's nice. But something happened in the 80s. What happened in the 80s? What could it be? Reaganomics. And there was this huge shift away from we need to consider workers to the only thing that matters is profit. If businesses just profit, everybody else will benefit. Now, we've been doing this for 40 years, and it hasn't worked yet. But don't worry. Any day now, It's going to work any day now. It hasn't worked for 40 years, but by golly, if we just keep doing the same thing, if we just keep promoting businesses over people, it's just going to work, and everybody's going to be happy. Yeah. But here we see that pay and productivity decoupled. So productivity has rose significantly, whereas pay has not. Pay is actually, since the 1980s, has barely rose. 17.5%. Productivity is up 61.8%. And that's only going up. And this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about AI and automation. That's how this is measured, in productivity per person. So this is really interesting because we already see it happening. Here in the United States of America, I don't think people realize this, but half of this entire country, 50% of all working people make less than $15 an hour. 50% of the entire working population in this country make less than $15 an hour. And generally, $15 an hour is considered to be like the bare minimum livable wage. It's the wage at which you can pay your bills if you live modestly, but you're not going to get ahead. You're not going to save for retirement. If you have a medical expense, which here in the United States is a very real thing, a single medical expense will wipe you out. So half of everyone today is in that boat here in the United States. And it's only going to increase because of these, what we see here. So it's an interesting thing. There's been some proposals, things like, at some point, see, here's the thing that's really interesting about economics is, at some point, it starts to break down. You can only have a successful business as long as you have people spending money. Now, this is really one of the things that many politicians fail to grasp. And I've even seen economists who don't seem to grasp this basic concept. There's only two real aspects in the economy. There's only two things that are real: individual consumers and government. Nothing else is real. Everything else is an illusion. Because it doesn't matter that Cisco Systems spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year on, buying components or whatever they do. They only do that because you and I go to the grocery store. They only do that because you and I have internet access and buy a TV or get some new sneakers or blue jeans, And the way that works is you and I go buy basic stuff, just basic stuff to live. Those businesses interact with other businesses. Those businesses interact with other businesses. So you have this huge chunk of the economy that is all business to business. In fact, I don't know what the numbers are, but one could probably argue that the majority of the economy is business to business. But none of that exists until you and I buy things. If you take away regular people buying things, then all these smaller businesses no longer need to buy from bigger businesses, and all these bigger businesses no longer need to buy from bigger businesses. So you only have a Cisco or an Oracle because you and I go to the grocery store. We go to Target and buy a pair of blue jeans. That's what drives the entire economy. Also the government, and the government is separate. It's largely dependent on you and I buying things, but the government can print its own money, so it's a little complicated. But business is an illusion. Business only works when you and I buy things, which shows you why this is such a bad deal. Because business is making more and more money. Even during the pandemic, we saw businesses making record profits. And it's because they are able to capitalize on this increased productivity. They need less people. And the government has really embraced this idea of support business above all things. So, businesses are able to cut. They don't pay pensions anymore. They don't have to offer good health care anymore. Um, and for as much as like people like to say, well, it's if you don't like it, you could leave and go somewhere else. That's ludicrous. Everyone knows you can't just do that. You can't just quit and go work for another place. It's the stupidest argument. I always get so angry when I hear people say that. It's like, are you even in the workforce? So yeah, this is really interesting. It's a real problem. Like I started saying, some people have floated ideas like universal basic income, where everybody gets some money just to live. I don't know if that's really viable, but there's going to have to be something done because we're getting to a point where there's so much wealth concentrated at the top that it doesn't matter. Like, here's the thing that people don't understand is the millionaires and the billionaires, they can only buy so many toilets. They can only buy so many TVs. They might have a 20 home mansion and they might have 20 televisions, but that same amount of money being distributed to working people, they'll buy way more than what the millionaire will buy. And that's what drives the economy. Millionaires and billionaires do not drive the economy. They make investments, but regular people make investments too. Keep this in mind. These are the big lies that are often being told to us. We need millionaires and billionaires because they invest. They help the economy grow. No, regular people invest too. You have a 401k. You can buy stocks and bonds. Regular people can, just in smaller amounts, but we can invest too. We don't need billionaires to invest. Regular people can invest. What we do need is regular people buying lots of stuff. That's what drives the economy. As you concentrate wealth at the top, there are fewer and fewer and fewer things being bought and sold. And there's your real trickle down, because as fewer and fewer things are bought and sold, there's less need for people. And then, we have this decoupling of productivity and wages. And so, that one person, a job that used to require two people now requires one person. So there's one person removed from the economy. They cannot participate anymore. So this is a real problem. There are no real solutions in my mind, and I'm probably wrong, but in my mind, the only way we solve this problem is with government intervention. I don't see how the free market will address this problem. We have tried so many times to allow the free market to address problems, and what we see that leads to is child labor, senior citizens dying of starvation. Like, unfettered capitalism does not lead to good things. It just doesn't. We have far too many examples throughout the past couple hundred years, like this idea that this Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged idea that the leaders of industry, hold up all of society and everybody benefits when you have this wealthy elite class. We've done that. It's led to the Russian Revolution. It led to the French Revolution. Like, we know how these things go. They don't end well. And the idea that these politicians just keep doing it because those are the people that give them their money. So yeah, we're kind of fucked. I really do think that we're kind of fucked. Like, I think I'm in a pretty good position. What I do, networking, isn't going to die just yet. I got some time left in my career, and so I think I'm going to be okay. Hopefully, fuck all you all. I'm okay. I don't have any answers. I don't know what we're going to do. But I do think this is a real problem. Again, a lot of smart people say, no, we don't even know yet. There's going to be a whole new industries that are going to open up to fill all these vacancies. We just can't imagine what they are yet. Maybe that's true. I hope so. Anyway, that was a good question. So thanks for the question, and I hope you found this informative. Mostly just my opinion ranting. Hey, have a good one. See you next time.